Everyone, welcome back. This is the second video in the Instagram quotes series where we are using HTML and CSS to create a unique Instagram quote. That quote is this one specifically. And the quote is, smile more than you can cry, give more than you can take, and love more than you hate. And the words are said against a beautiful chalkboard accompanied by this amazing bouquet of flowers. Very beautiful, very touching. And we're going to be using HTML and CSS to create this design. If you haven't already done so, go to the Newbie and the Pro Instagram and start following. We'd love to have you. And you can see some of the amazing Instagram quotes that Kia and I have created and uploaded. So in this particular video, we are going to extend what we did in the last one, where we created, just show you the HTML, we created our article elements and several paragraphs with specific paragraphs, including spans with the keywords smile, give, and love. Okay, so with these, I'm just going to move this over here. With these, with this structure in place, we're now going to add text-specific CSS. So I'm going to be targeting just the text itself and different properties of the text. So I'm going to start with the paragraph. And with the paragraph, I want to add some very specific fonts. So I'm going to say, actually, not very specific, but a font family that comes with most browsers. But we're going to be targeting the font family. And that font family that we are targeting is going to be cursive. That is the font family. And you'll see it immediately take effect. Now we have some really beautiful cursive fonts. Okay. The next property that we're going to target here is the font weight. Okay. And the font weight is how thick or bold the font looks. And I'm just going to set it to 100 and let's see what we got. Doesn't really look like much happened here. I'm going to set it to maybe 5. Does anything happen there? Not a lot. Still going to set it to 100. Not a lot yet. We will be affecting the font later on. This tells me that cursive doesn't really have, let me see, 9. Not a whole lot. Okay. So let's go to the font size then. And for the font size, I'm going to set it to be 25 pixels. And we can see that the text itself has grown significantly compared to what it was before. And that's all the text, because we are targeting every element on the page that is a paragraph element. Okay, so what we're going to do now is align the text. Because in our Instagram quote, we could see that the text is aligned to the right a little bit, right? So it's pushed to the right, and that's kind of the effect. We're not going to achieve the full effect, but we are going to move it to the right. So I'm going to say text align, and I'm going to say right. It should move all the text immediately to the right side. Awesome. Now I'm going to do letter spacing. I want to create some spacing between the actual letters. And so here we're going to say letter spacing, and I'm going to say 1.5 pixels. Let's see. All right, so that looks nice. So the text has kind of expanded itself on the horizontal plane, making it kind of, I suppose, a little easier to read. And the last thing that we're going to do is to set the line height. And I'm going to say line height 1. Height. And we're going to set it to 1. And it kind of moves it up a little bit. Okay, because of the font size, because the font size was so big, the text itself kind of expanded. The fonts the size of the fonts also dictates some of the space around it. So line height kind of removes or forces the text to stay much closer. Now, according to our design, though, it seems like Smile and its supporting text, More Than You Can Cry and Give and More Than You Can Take, these seem like they're kind of grouped with a little bit more spacing between those sections. And we can achieve that either via CSS, or we can go in to our HTML and we can add a new element. And that new element is I'm going to do it here, is a break tag. And what that's going to do is create an additional break between, or an additional space. So I'm going to also add that here. And we can create the additional space that we're looking for. There's other ways to do this. In the world of CSS and HTML and the combination of the two, there's probably half a dozen ways to do this, if not more. I'm taking a really basic approach here of revisiting HTML by adding the break tags. And what you can see that this break tag is different than the other tags in that it's a single tag, a single opening element. I also believe we could, if we wanted to, just close it off like this, and that would work just as well. So it takes an opening or a closing, just puts a little underline there, but I'm going to get rid of it. Looks cleaner. And so now we have, or we're getting close to our design. Now I'm going to target the spans because I want to add a different font family to the actual spans themselves. Okay. Actually, for this, we are going to leave it as cursive. I am going to add the font family here. I'm going to say font family, and I am going to say cursive. I'm going to still keep it cursive. We're going to still keep it cursive, but we could change the font family. And if we did, we could say, I don't know, what if I said Arial? Let me see what would happen. See, if we change the font family, we can target those words very specifically and distinguish the spans from the remaining paragraph elements. And we will later on be targeting those particular spans using Google fonts, and we're going to import some really unique Google fonts. For this case, I'm just going to kind of keep it as cursive for now. I'm going to go to the font weights, and so the font weight here, WEIGHT, I am going to give it a font weight of 600, although it's not going to do much as of right now, and that's what we saw earlier. But I think if I was to change it, let me see, if I did change it to Arial, would it make the font? Yes. See how Arial affects the font itself. So Arial has more font weight to it than a cursive font does. Okay, so this will come in handy later on also. So once again, I'm just going to kind of cursive. I'm just going to change it back to cursive. We'll leave the font weight of 600, even though it's not really doing anything as of yet. And then we will go to the font size. I'm going to set it to be 35 pixels because I want it to be a little larger than the remaining text. And then for the text transform. So text transform is going to allow us to transform the text into uppercase. Okay? So now the text will be uppercase. We could have originally had just gone in here and typed it in uppercase, but it's always cool to see how CSS can be used to target specific elements and change them. So there we have it. And the only last thing that I want to do is I want to set the color. I want to set the color to the spans to be a salmon color. Okay. And so we can see that not only can we target it using text transform and make it uppercase or in font size, but we can also add a nice unique color to it to kind of start distinguishing it even more so than the remaining text. So in this video, we added some very text-specific CSS, specifically font family, font weight, font size to target the fonts, and then for text, we use text align. For letters, we use letter spacing, and for the line height, we used line height. And then we repeated some of that, at least the font properties in the span, and then added a text transform to uppercase. And I'm just going to add the little comment over here to kind of explain what we did. Set color to salmon. How about that? Set color to salmon. And we're able to target that specific text for spans and change its color.